You are watching Houseplant Masterclass by Lazy Gardener episode 2. Thank you everyone for coming, and today we are going to talk about one of our most favorite plants, that is money plant. Money plant is very interesting because I feel more than a plant, especially in Indian setting, it's a significance of, it has nostalgia value, it has that emotional connect. It has that connect which reminds you and connects you with your home. Do you not feel that if you live alone, if you live in a hostel or anywhere, you get that one money plant to make that space homely? And that's why, while we are going to talk about issues which you can use for many plants, we are going to use money plant as the reference plant in this video. So let's see today what we are going to learn and what this session is going to be all about. So I'm calling it my secrets to having bushier money plants. So we're going to talk about how you can have a bushier plant. I'm going to talk about trimming and pruning here, and you can use that concept for other plants. Then it is going to be how to have bigger leaves in a money plant. Then we learn exactly in more details about pruning and trimming, and also the money plant care and maintenance. That is one of the very important things in general whenever you want to have. At the onset, it might look like, how can we have a session dedicated to one plant? But I hope by the end of this session, you realize that there's so many simple things that you can do for money plant, which will make it grow like anything, which will make it bushier, and it will make, you can get big leaves. So let's start. One very surprising thing, if you want to have a big plant, then the most important thing is you have to cut it. It seems counterintuitive, right? Have you had a money plant with just one vine going long and long and long, and you always wonder that I just have one vine coming out in my money plant and I want it to become bushier, but what do I do? And the answer actually is very simple. You have to cut that vine. And it looks very counterintuitive. We are going to start with this, and we are going to understand pruning and trimming, which is an essential part for the money plant. Now, let's look at a node. Okay, so before we move forward, I'll just take 1 minute to tell you other plants on which you can use these learnings. So one is wandering Jew, which I have here. So on wandering Jew, you can use this everything that we are learning. So this is wandering Jew. Then we can use the same learning for a monstera plant. Okay, so if you have a monstera which is vining, and you can use the same concept that we are learning today. Then let's look at an English ivy. Now I have a very bad looking English ivy because we forgot it exists, but here's the one. So you can see that here you can use the same technique. And now, how do we know which are the plants we can use the same technique on? And the idea is very simple. We are looking for a plant which has a vine. Okay, so the plant has a vine, and what it means is it has these nodes from where there are small bumps and there are small aerial roots, and for all of these we can use the same technique. Okay, so what happens when we make a cut in a plant, right? The primary purpose of any plant is to survive, thrive, and to multiply. That is the most natural instinct for a plant, right? That's why we have flowers. Flowers' purpose is for plant to produce seeds, which will help it to reproduce and to create more plants. That is the foundation for any kind of plant behavior that we see. When we put it in bad conditions, it goes into survival mode. So we don't see growth, but the plant just survives, right? Now, what happens when we make a cut in a plant is that the plant feels that it is threatened, the existence is threatened. But at the same time, if it has resources, then it goes into a stage of growth in every way, every side, and we can see the plant multiply, become bushier, to have more branches and things like that. So let's first see these two tools, and this is very important to distinguish between these two. While it doesn't matter if you are using the incorrect one, I have been using whichever I find on my table at that time. So this is essentially for anything that is a dead wood. You see, it's almost like a chopping board. There is a flat surface here, then a blade comes from top and it cuts here. Let me put it this way. And okay, now let's compare that with this one. If we compare it with this one, what we see is the blade. This top one is the blade, the bottom is not a blade. It goes, but it goes on the side. It doesn't go on the top, it goes on the side, right? So use this one for hard surfaces, branches which have woody appearances, and use this one for anything which is like this, a vine, or anything which is a soft stem, soft branch, and things like that. So actually you are better off, if you only have this one, then you're better off using a pair of scissors, a sharp pair of scissors, if you don't have this one. Now this is important. This is important because if you do not have a clean cut, then at times you can have infection, or you can destroy other parts of the plant as well, and then you have issues, right? Not a great concern, but still it is good to know, kind of a thing. So let's start with this one, and let's say I have a money plant which is just dangling like this, and what I should do now is I'll see that there are no leaves here, right? This is typically how you have your money plants, right? You don't have a leaf for a long time, and then you have a couple of leaves, and then you have some more leaves coming here, and ideally I would just kind of trim it here, or I'll do it here. Now the only reason that I am going to trim it at different places, where I'm going to do is, and which we will learn in our next class, is how I can propagate the plant. So while I'm making a cut, I'm also making sure that whatever I take out, can I propagate it further? Can I use it to make a new plant? But otherwise, even if you were to go and just make a cut at the end of every branch that you see, just snip off every branch, like, okay, so just snip off every branch and you're good with that. So number one, if you want your money plant or any other vine plant to grow, to become bushy, cutting the branches is going to be number one priority. It is going to be very important. If you have no idea where to cut, how to cut, then just cut the bottom few centimeters, and that is fine. That is fine. In our next masterclass, we will be learning about propagation, and then we will know better on how to cut in a manner so that the cut portion we can use for propagation. Just as starting, cut anywhere and you are good to go. So what are we going to achieve, and how would we know that after we have made a cut, it was a successful cutting? So I'll just show you. Okay, let me show you in this one. Now what we want is, normally we just have one leaf coming out from every node, right? We might have just one leaf coming out here, but this kind of a growth is not the ideal growth. If at every node we just have one leaf, we will not really have a healthy plant. What we are looking at is, if we can get a group of growth from one node, that is what we are looking at, right? So as you continue to make these cuts, as you continue to trim your plant, you will see those kind of growths happening where you have a cluster of leaves coming out from one node, right? So that is basically about cutting. And right now I'll just would like to take you back to couple of things which are extremely important for money plant, and then we will go in detail for each one of them. Money plant is a heavy feeder. What it means is it needs a lot of nutrition. It loves light, and we'll talk about that. It needs to be supported well, and again we are going to talk about that. The watering part of money plant is a bit not tricky, but it is a bit different from other plants, because as what we saw, it has nodes everywhere, and we have to make sure that we are watering the nodes. And what is the right way to do that? We'll talk about that. And pruning and trimming we just talked about. So these are essentially what I call as my top 5 secrets for healthy money plant. So we'll continue on other topics just after this short message, and just stay there and we'll continue in 20 seconds. Welcome back, and let's talk about one thing that I get asked a lot, and that is bigger and healthier leaves. Now I would tell you one thing absolutely essential for bigger and bigger leaves, that is support. If we do not give support to our money plant, we will not get big leaves. Let's see photo of this plant. These leaves are bigger than Pallavi, the other one. So this is a plant which is I came across about a couple of months back in a church, and this, you can see the massive size of the leaves. This is just a comparison with my hand, and the only way that you can have leaves this big is if the plant is supported well. So this plant was growing on a palm tree, so it had roots all hugging the tree trunk. But in no way will you get big leaves unless you give a great support system to your plant. Now how can you do that? So one of the ways to do it is to use a moss stick. So like we have here, and I'll just show you. And so we have this as a moss stick. Now what we want essentially to do is, we want if we can show this, so the stem has to be very close to the, that's it. Okay. So we have to put the stem very close to the moss stick, and that ways it will create deep roots. And that is what we mean by when we say giving good support, right? It just doesn't mean that just putting a money plant around a moss stick and hoping that it will get support, but actually tying it in a manner that there are nodes which are very close to the support system. Without having a good support, your plant leaves will not grow big, for a simple reason. If the stem cannot support, the leaves cannot grow as big, and they then make the plant fall, right? Now what are the other ways you can give a good support system? So at my home I have a money plant that I'm supported through a rope, right? Now one of the great ways to support a money plant that you are growing anywhere or you want it to climb is to actually give this kind of a support system. So I have used a bread clip. It's a small wire, and I tie my money plant to the rope very firmly with this. Now what that does is, you create certain sections of plant which are not moving away from the support. And this is important because as the plant is going to grow in different directions, it can lose the support, and this is important. So one of the things extremely important is, if you cannot give your plant good support, it will not get big leaves. Then comes the point 2. Have you ever noticed that the leaves continue to grow bigger and bigger as the plant grows taller? And that is essentially the light. The more the light, the brighter the light, the money plant or any of the other plants we talked in this category, they will do better, right? Their leaves will be bigger. Now, how can you provide better light? And then there's another question that I see, and I can also see in a couple of comments here, is, do I need to put money plant in shade? And that becomes almost like a myth that contradicts saying that sun, I cannot put my money plant outside because it will burn in sun. Yes, it will burn in direct sun. And that's why what we need to do is we need to have a filtered light, or we have to put it in bright shade. What it means is that it should get a lot of light. And if you have attended the first masterclass, you know how to know whether it's a bright shade or a shade or direct sun, right? So pick a spot which is bright shade rather than a very low lit shade, and then you'll see your money plant doing much better. Now, tip number 3 for money plant leaves to become bigger is simply to wipe your leaves continuously. Wipe your leaves at least once a month. Leaves will accumulate a lot of dust. Leaves will accumulate say any other things which is going to block their pores, both above and bottom of the leaves. So especially if you have a money plant which is this big leaves, so this one is decently big, it's as big as my hand. Now what I would ideally like to do is, I'd like to keep wiping it every month from both bottom and top, and that way this leaf can grow even bigger, and that also extends the life of this leaf. Every leaf has a lifespan, right? It's going to naturally grow old and then die off. So what we should do is we should try and extend the lifespan of the leaf, and by wiping it we can do that. So 3 things. How do you get big leaves? Is give money plant a good support system. Absolutely essential. Put it in bright light or bright shade. And then the third thing is wipe your leaves. Very important, extremely important to wipe your leaves. Now let's talk about nutrition. Money plant is a heavy feeder. It needs a lot of nutrition. It is going to take up a lot of nutrition in form of nitrogen and also micronutrients like say molybdenum and zinc and magnesium. And if it is not getting that kind of nutrition, then it is going to lag in growth. It is not going to grow. It might get yellow leaves, or the stems that are going to come out, they are not going to grow at the same pace. And unless the stems are growing, you are not going to have a lot of leaves and the stem branching happening, obviously. So we should really ensure that we feed our money plants extremely well. We feed them regularly. I am from Lazy Gardener. We have our own fertilizer. So I would say green sticks is what really works for money plant. But in general, the key takeaway here is that money plant is one plant, if you're serious about, you have to feed it. You have to feed it regularly. You have to feed it well. And that is the only way to ensure that you have a great looking, healthy, bushy money plant. Extremely important. Extremely important. So let's take a small quiz message, and then we will talk about watering your money plant and how to put various tips or things to keep in mind while you're watering your money plant. नहीं था क्या? मेरा म्यूट नहीं था. Okay, so welcome back, and let's talk about watering your money plant, how to make it bushy. Okay. Let me take a money plant here. Okay. Now, I just talked about, when we were talking about pruning, that there are these stems which are all have small aerial root coming out from them, right? You see, all these are roots that are coming out. Now each one of them has a potential to absorb water, and it's only when they absorb water that your plant is well fed. Okay, so one of the very important things to do is to spray the water on your plants. Absolutely important. So say if this was a plant that I want to grow, I see an aerial node here, there's a small bump here. Now I need to just spray the water here. Now if you see, there are small water droplets which are there, and these water droplets will ensure that this root has a reason to grow. So basically what we are doing is we are giving a reason for the roots to grow from everywhere, and it is extremely important to use this kind of a misting. So if I have to water, say, this money plant here, can we do? So if I'm doing this money plant here, what I have to do is firstly I have to pour water from the top. If I'm pouring it with a mug, if I'm going to spray, I'm going to make sure that I'm spraying here all along the stem. This is very important. We cannot just water the pot of a money plant and expect great results. That is not going to happen, because money plant will grow bigger and longer, and the kind of energy it takes for a plant to take water from this small pot all the way to the end is not going to help. That's not going to help the plant to become what you want in the easiest manner. Most of the energy is just going for the plant to find water. So that's one key thing. Another thing that I do personally, which works really well, is I put up napkins at various spots. So if we can have the photo of there's this money plant. So this is a similar money plant in the sense of it has a moss stick, and then what I've done is, just on the top at the end of the moss stick, I have put up some napkins there. Now every time I water, I just wet this napkin, and that allows the roots to develop there, because that becomes a new source of water. And you'll see that there was a lot of dividing of stems happening just at that spot, and it's not by chance, it is by design, because now we have created a new reservoir of water that is well fed from there. And essentially what I'm saying is, when one stem came there, now by putting napkins there and creating water reservoir there, stem is readily dividing in all directions from there, right? So this is another very important tip when you're watering your plants, especially any vine plant like money plant or wandering Jew and things like that. And just a quick message I want to tell you is that if you're new here, if you're not subscribed to our channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. And also, if you're liking the video, please hit a thumbs up. And I'll tell you why I ask this is because we are very new to YouTube. And when your subscribe or your like sends a message to YouTube that you are enjoying the content and the video that we're putting out, and then it gets recommended to more and more people, and that really helps us to spread the message. So thank you. And only if you love the video, if you like the video, if you found any tip useful in this, then do that. Okay, so this is basically what we talked about money plant, and now I'll move to pruning and trimming generally for other plants, which is very important as well. And When we have a money plant, what we need to do is give it good light, bright light, give it good nutrition, give it watering in a manner that the water is reaching everywhere, all the stems, all the nodes, and the leaves are well wiped, and trim and prune. Now, what is actually meant by trimming and pruning when we are looking at any plant? So I thought, to continue, I will take a plant which is not money plant, especially because many a times with money plant we feel we know, and even though we may not know how to do it well, but we feel we know, right? And that's why I'm just demonstrating it on this plant, and then we'll take it back to money plant and I'll tell you there. Now, if I have no idea on what to do with this, I would still say just go and trim every edge. So here you see a gap, there's no leaves. I go a bit back and I edit it out, and not edit it out, I trim it out. And if I know nothing, still I'll just go and okay. Monsoon is a very good time to do this. Monsoon, pre-monsoon, extremely important to do this. Okay. So why I did that is, do not overthink when you're pruning. If nothing else, just every branch, just snip off something. And that's why I wanted to do it with this one, because in money plant, because we have less stems, it's very easy to start overthinking and just complicate things. But I'm telling you, even in your money plant, just take the branch and cut it off, right? But then here are a couple of more methods that you can do. Firstly, if you want a bushy money plant, right? Now, we have had bushier plants actually, but let's say if you want a bushy money plant, then what should we do? Firstly, we have to ensure, like in a pot like this, there would be about 15 to 20 plants there. 15 to 20 plants have to be in this pot, and I'll just show it to you. You see this? It's only half the pot yet. Half the pot is empty at the soil level, right? So over time, I'm going to take a cutting from here. So I've done two things at the same time. I've trimmed my money plant and I'm going to put it back in the pot. When I put it back in the pot, then I start to see bushier money plants, right? But there's one more method, and this actually I've seen Amanda from Plant Arena use a lot and it works. So if you have a money plant vine which you do not want to cut off, right? Sometimes it happens, you have just one and you don't want to cut off. Then what you do is, you take this pin, which is, I don't know how to show. This pin, I think it's called as bobby pin or U pin, and then you just hold your vine down with it. Can you see it? Okay, sorry. I've held my vine down with that pin. Now after some time it will develop roots in the soil again. I can remove the pin. I should remove the pin. Okay. So this is another method. So why I'm just sharing these things is, I know irrespective of how many videos I do, I still get comments of, I have only one money plant vine, I don't want to cut it, what if I lose it? If you don't want to cut it, do this. Just rotate it in the pot, put your bobby pins there, it will have new growth. Hairpin, somebody just said it's called hairpin, or Supriya is saying it's called U-pin. Thank you, Supriya. So you can use that to put your money plant down to the pot, and that would be a great way to propagate it without any cutting, right? No cutting required, but at the same time you are creating new plant. So what's the common theme? What's the common theme between the napkin, the watering, and this U-pin method? The common theme there is that if we provide any part of the money plant stem a reason to grow into a plant, it will. That's the most common thing. That's the common underlying thing, that if we give it enough uh, reason to multiply or to grow, it will. Now, if there are any questions, I will take questions in another 5 to 10 minutes. We'll start with the questions, but I think here's some things are important which we discussed last time, but there might be some people who have not been there last time, and then I'll just discuss them in terms of money plant, right? So firstly, very important, money plants come from the rainforest. They are wild in nature, they grow anywhere, right? Now, considering that, we need to keep money plant away from direct sun. Keeping it away from direct sun is important, because otherwise it will get leaf burn, right? The leaves of the money plant will get burnt if you put it in direct sun. But what about the light conditions then? We need to put it in bright shade. How do you know it's bright shade? We discussed that in last time in details. I'm not going to go there. But what are the ways you can supplement the light conditions for your money plant? Keep it near an artificial light if you have no other option. If you have no other option, keep it near an artificial light. So you can keep it on top of a cabinet, you can put it near your reading lamp, on your table, on your desk, anywhere, but keep it near an artificial light source. That is going to help you tremendously. Then comes the third thing. Whenever you are watering, water the whole of the plant, wipe the leaves, and make sure that every part of the plant is getting watered, not just the base, the pot. Then there's point 3. If you want a bushier plant, there are two very important aspects to it. One is trimming it. Unless you trim it, unless you cut it, you will not get bushier plant, because there will be no lateral growth. One vine will keep having alternate leaves, there won't be any branching, and without branching it can no way look bushier. And the second thing is, in one pot, in a small pot of about 6 inches, you will need 15 to 20 plants. When you have 15 to 20 plants starting, then that can grow into a bushy plant. If you don't want to cut your plant, if you don't want to cut your vines, I understand sometimes that happens, then just roll your money plant back, use a U-pin, use a hairpin, and pin it down into the soil. That will allow you to create new growth. And that helps a lot, and that helps especially if you're a beginner and you are really scared to cut your plant and thinking whether it will grow back or not. Then another thing is the nutrition. The nutrition aspect of money plant is very misunderstood, especially because we keep seeing money plant everywhere. But I'll tell you, there's no other plant which is under such an immense pressure as money plant. Whenever we get money plant, we always expect it to do amazing things like climb up the wall and cover the whole ceiling and go from one end to the other. Under this immense pressure, one thing that the plant is always neglected, one thing that is always neglected for money plant is nutrition. Nutrition is extremely important if you want to have a healthy, good growing bushy money plant. Number one, right? I saw there were some questions relating to green stick, how often to put green sticks. So basically, money plant would require a good amount of nitrogen, and then magnesium, manganese, zinc. And if you're using green stick, you should put it every 2 months. Otherwise, if you're using any other fertilizer, I don't know which one but that application rate would be about 8 to 10 days. Every 8 to 10 days, you would have to put new one. So with green stick, yes, you do get that kind of ease of use, that you can put it once and then over time it will just dissolve and it will feed the plant for 2 months. So that is about money plant, that is about the vines, and that is about getting a good bushy healthy pot. We will just resume back with the questions. I will take questions, and till then just listen to this message. And if you're liking this video, as I said earlier, you know what, go ahead. Welcome back, and we will be taking questions now. Let's take the first question. Okay, so we are just taking a question. Give me 1 minute. We are just reading through the questions and picking up the question. Okay, Nimi Nayak is asking, how often should we air the soil? I've seen my Mali striking holes into the soil. It's an extremely amazing question. Great question. We did talk about this in previous session, I think. I'm not sure. Every 1 month or so, I think it's extremely important. Definitely do it before monsoon. Absolutely important to do it before monsoon. It serves multiple purposes. One is the root is able to get air, the root is able to breathe. The second thing is the water is able to flow through the soil very well. So what's the simplest way to do it is, you can take a khurpi and you can then just go a bit deep and so we go in, we loosen the soil. This is the way to aerate your soil. Yes, some people put in deep holes. That works too. This works better. At the same time, when you're doing this, just be careful not to hurt the roots of your plant. So yeah, that's the question. Purnima says, can we pin them on the moss stick instead of using a rope? Yes, you can. Don't staple. I have seen people do stapling. Some nurseries do stapling. If you do stapling, remove it very soon. Stapling will actually hinder the growth of the stem. The stem becomes much thicker as the plant ages, right? So anything that you do, whether you pinning them or you're doing even the rope, remove it after it is no longer necessary. That is actually very important. So yeah. Mrudula asks, can we use your plant sticks for money plants? Yes, you can use green sticks. You can use these green sticks for money plant. And I'll just show you how to use it. Do we have more questions like this? Okay. We do not ship abroad right now. So you just take a stick, and how many sticks you'll need, all that is mentioned on the pack. And what you need to do is you need to push it down, and you just take this pot and you just push the sticks down in a manner that like this. Now after that it will keep feeding your plant for up to 2 months. So yeah. Next, will money plant do well in ceramic pot? Absolutely, why not? Pallavi Mehta asks, will money plant do well in ceramic pot? It will. There is no reason for it to not. What you need to make sure is the soil mix, the well drainage of the soil, and the aeration of the soil. Yeah. How frequently should we trim money plant? That's a very good question. Ideally, I would say trim it every 3 months or so. And how we see 3 months is we would like to trim it before the periods where it grows a lot, or periods where it stops growing, right? So typically right now, I would say March, April is a great time to trim. Then I start trimming again in June, July. and then probably in November or so I would do the trimming. So yeah, every couple of months you can do trimming. Another time you can do trimming is if you just see your plant become too leggy. Leggy is a term that it has become too long without real growth anywhere. So yeah. How do we keep pink syngonium in, how do we need to keep pink syngonium in bright light? Not in direct sun, but yes, you can, it would be great idea to keep it where the light is a lot. But having said that, I know you will see some color variation every time you move it from one light condition to another. So yeah. Will it be enough to water the base of the plant? Kishore Kumar asks. Not in case of money plant. It will not be. I mean, it will be enough to water the base of the plant for the plant to just survive, for it to stay alive. But if we are looking for the plant to really become bushier, for it to have new growth, then not. It will not be sufficient, because the small roots that you see, they will not grow to become bigger unless we are also misting and watering the other parts of the plant. And unless the roots become bigger, right, the plant will not have a reason to divide and have confidence enough to say, okay, let me just try to start a new plant from here. Medha Gaddu asks, should beetle leaf plant be given support upwards? Yes. We have a beetle leaf plant. In fact, I'm sorry I forgot, but everything we discussed, it holds pretty well for beetle leaf plant as well. Put it on a moss stick. Put beetle leaf plant on a moss stick and it will do well. We have a plant here. So my plant comes magically here. So the same way, put it on a moss stick and it will grow upwards. Beetle leaf plant would appreciate even a bit more brighter light, and if you can put it in outdoor condition, that would also be great. But yeah, not in direct sun. But yes. So one of the things, how you can see the one difference that you can see between, say, money plant and beetle leaf plant is the woodiness of the stem. So if you look at this stem, and while this is not okay, this is the money plant stem. If you compare these two stems, you will see that the stem of this beetle leaf stem, this one, it's a bit more thicker covering and much more sturdier than this one, which is softer. So that kind of gives you an idea where the plant would like to be kept in general. So yeah. Sudha Narayan asks, how do you replant the trimmings? Replanting of trimming and propagation we will take up in the next session, next Sunday, 5 o'clock. It will be all about propagation. How do you take cuttings to grow them into new plants? It's a whole thing there, so we'll cover it there. So we'll be covering water propagation and we'll be covering soil propagation. There are certain things what I would like to talk about when we put plants from cuttings in water, and then we'll look at what should we do when we put the cuttings into the soil. Can we make syngonium bushy? How? Yes, you can. And thank you for this question, Sarita Agarwal, because I should have covered this and kind of I missed out. So okay, we will take some time to answer this question properly. So the question is, how can we make syngonium bushy? Now let's look at syngonium very closely, right? It resembles money plant. Do you see this aerial node? This is the aerial root coming out, right? Then you can see another one coming out here, and these two. So just think of them as same way as the nodes that we were looking in money plant. Now let's go a bit deeper. If we look at the roots here, Okay, perfect, perfect. So now we see the roots from here, they are going down to the stem. Now all along this, they're going down to the soil, and all along this area we have small nodes, right? Now, the simple idea with say a plant like this one is to cover it with soil more, okay? Cover it with soil more, and then new plants will start coming out from the bottom. The other thing that is extremely important is we see Syngonium in this form normally, right? Syngonium is actually a much bigger plant. It grows. So I don't know if you go back and see the video I did last Sunday, the big plant that was kept here, that was a Syngonium. Okay. And what I had done to that Syngonium was I had tied it to this moss stick, and we have trimmed it regularly, and it has divided in all directions, and it's a beast. It's much bigger than all these 3 money plants put together. It has taken about 4-5 years to reach there, but it's a huge one. So we have to use the same approach, same logic as the money plant, and we have to make sure all these nodes and roots are under the soil when we have a plant which is small. We water the nodes, and then we'll start seeing new growth coming out. The third point of having multiple plants in a small pot. So this one is a bit too small to have multiple plants, but say if you have the next size 6-inch or an 8-inch one, you should have more plants, which fills up the whole thing. So that's the main idea. Thank you, Sarita, for this question. Minakshi, please suggest how to care for fiddle leaf fig in Delhi weather. Indirect light. Don't keep it in direct sun. Keeping your fiddle leaf fig in direct sun will burn it. Mist the plant. Mist the plant leaves. Create a small humid environment around the plant. Wipe the leaves and feed it well. Feed good nutrition. In Delhi winters, it's not difficult to have your plant survive as long as you keep it away from direct sun and as long as you water it. So yeah. My spider plant leaves tips are getting dried up. Reason: heat. Actually, that will be heat. It's normal. I would say if it's only tips, don't worry too much about it. Let it be. As it cools down in 1 month, you'll be fine. If the plant is not dying, then it's okay. Because if you start changing the water schedule for your plant now, what would happen is you'll end up having overwatering in some time because the weather will cool down. Now you have changed the watering schedule, now you have a new problem. So if your plants just the tips are getting a bit brown and it started recently, otherwise the plant is doing fine, do not worry too much. Just let it be, leave it, it will get better. Yeah. Soil preparation for money plant. We will do something on soil preparation absolutely separately, but essentially I would say have a loose soil, have a well drained soil. The roots should be able to penetrate well, and the water should not get collected in the pot. Can we use small lazy gardener pots to grow bigger money plants? Can we use small lazy gardener pots? So actually we have pots, but I was just confused because we don't sell them right now. So I was just wondering, how did you get hold of our small lazy gardener pots? So can we use small pots to grow big money plants? Difficult to say. It depends upon the relativeness of how big and how small, right? Can I have a bushy money plant coming out of this 4-inch pot? Yes, you can. Will the leaves be big? No, the leaves will be small, right? Can the leaves get bigger than the small one? Yes. Give them more bright light, wipe the leaves, it will. Can the plant really grow big in a small pot? Yes, as we discussed that if we keep spraying the water at various places, the plant can survive off roots that are coming out from multiple places. So that's a good and an easy thing to do. How to decide whether a money plant needs to be shifted to a bigger pot. Amardeep Prasad says, I am not a fan of shifting money plants from one pot to another. I would recommend you to not do it also. That's my personal choice, and I'll tell you why. Money plant grows fast. Money plant is easy to cut and propagate, which we will learn next Sunday. And with both these qualities, why would you try to move it to a new pot? But let's say you want to move it to a bigger pot, which can happen if you have a 10-inch, 12-inch money plant. Then basically the rule for moving any plant to a new pot is that the roots start coming out from the bottom of the pot, or it becomes visible on the surface. And if you are moving a money plant which is on a moss stick, just remember that money plant will have very less chances to live. If you take it out and move it, best is to break the pot and to take the whole pot of soil and move it to the new one. That's the only way you have a chance for it to survive. Sai Lakshmi says, how often do we need to change moss stick for money plant? No, you don't need to really. I have never changed. The purpose of moss stick is to provide moisture. I know people say you can change it in 4 to 5 years, but the problem with that is, if your money plant is doing well, how do you change it? Your money plant has grown its roots inside the moss stick. You can't change it. You really can't change your moss sticks, and you don't need to. Just make sure whenever you water, you start pouring water from here. I think this single tip itself will change the way you have the way you see the growth of your money plants. Pour your water from here. You'll see the water seep down. Continue watering slowly. The pot also will start getting the water from here, and you're good to go. Bhavni says, can we use green sticks for all plants, vegetables and flowers? How often do we use it? Bhavni, for flowering plants or any plant which flowers and then creates fruit or vegetable, I recommend using bloom stick, which is another variant that we have. For all other plants, you can use green stick. If you go to our website or something, you will have a table which tells you how many sticks you need in a single pot, and so a small pot will require 1 stick, then the next size will require 2 sticks. Once you have inserted the sticks, you need to change it after every 2 months, so you have a lot of time there. Napkin means tissue paper. Yes, Sweta, when I was talking about you can put napkin, that is tissue paper. Any absorbent thing. The very good thing with tissue paper is it has a long life, in the sense of many other papers, like say newspaper normally can work well, but there is one problem. Napkin I can repeatedly wet, then it dries off. Then I can, Pallavi, can you put that photo of the napkin? So what happens is, this napkin I had placed about I think 3 years ago or so, right? So right now it is actually a very solid ball, because every time I water it, it absorbs the water, it becomes soft, and then it loses its water and becomes a hard thing. So because of this property, that I don't have to keep changing this napkin itself, I like to use napkin or tissue paper. Why neon money plant turns green? Pooja Deshmukh. Any plant coloration, okay, will depend on color of the light. Any plant coloration. So let's take this wandering Jew, right? Okay, so let's take this wandering Jew, and you see this has a nice color here, and on the back side this is colored like this. Okay, now if I have to pick another leaf, okay, I've taken 2 leaves. From the back, deep purple. From the front, they are green. Okay, now if I change the location of this plant, it starts getting more light, lesser light. a different light, the coloration will change. The leaf coloration, even the flower pigmentation are highly dependent upon the light. So when you're saying your neon money plant is turning green, by green I think you mean it is turning like the normal color of the leaf. That essentially indicates that it's getting a different kind of light. Most probably I would say it is getting much more brighter light. I'm not 100% sure about that one. But yeah, so just try moving it somewhere else if you like that color better, kind of a thing. Badrinath, green stick works for money plant in water. No, we do not recommend our sticks for water plants. Or, I mean, not for this. We don't recommend that. Yeah. Will money plant do well in bathroom or bedroom with low light? Absolutely yes, it will. Will it do well? I mean, it will not do as well as it would if it was getting good light. But will it survive? Yes, it will survive. Will it grow bigger? It will grow bigger, because one of the good things with bathroom is the humidity and the moisture, right? Now with the bedroom, it can be an issue, but experiment. Money plant is one of the easiest plants to experiment with, and please do come for the next class. Please do, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have money plant, it is so easy for anyone to create 100 money plants out of a single plant. And don't go with the literal number of 100, but I mean like 20, 30 plants. And that means you can experiment with this plant anywhere in your home, any way you like. And you can keep just experimenting like this. If you want to know, does it grow well in my bedroom? Yeah, let's keep it. Priyanka asks what to do when the money plant leaves become whiter or yellowish. Okay, so whiter is a different thing. Whiter is what you saw in I think there was a video in between the live which was talking about the variegation of the plants. So whiter is that basically lack of chlorophyll, and that's fine. It happens. Even the yellowish color, I mean the variation within the leaves, like this one, is all because of that. But if the leaf itself is becoming yellow, okay, so here are a couple of things, and probably now this would be the last question that we take. But is this a single leaf in the whole plant that is becoming yellow? If it is that, then forget it. Do not worry, just remove the leaf and go on with your life. If not, then it can indicate a couple of things. Firstly, it can indicate lack of light. It can indicate lack of nutrition, especially specific micronutrients that help in formation of chlorophyll, that is the yellow color. It can indicate a lack of nutrition. And thirdly, it can indicate if overwatering or underwatering. It can indicate any kind of a watering issue, right? When you bring a plant newly to home, at that time, do not worry about this issue, right? But if you have had a plant which was doing fine and suddenly has developed an issue, then it is one of this. Now, one of the things that I'm going to request again is, if you're new here, this is your first time, or if for any reason, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It's a red button there, and turn on the notification so that next time we upload a video or we go live, it comes as a reminder to you. And it becomes really important, more so because of the fact that a lot of you know us from, say, Instagram or from any other platform, but on YouTube we are absolutely new. We started it in March, and we would love to build a community here and to help more and new plant parents here. Thank you everyone. Thank you for coming. It is 6 o'clock right now, and that wraps up our live for this week, Houseplant Masterclass episode 2. Next week we will be talking about propagation, both water and soil propagation, and after that, the 4th class, we will talk about what to do when you bring plants from nursery, how to find good plants in nursery, and all the things to keep in mind while you're purchasing plants. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Do share this video with anyone. It will remain available on YouTube. So any place where you think people can, or your friends who would love to know more about money plant, do consider sharing this video. And give it a thumbs up, and see you soon. See you later. Take care.